Alienstage is over. Well, it should be, given the fact we've already had the final round, yet we're still here. And we recently got the release of Viege, I think that's how it's pronounced, on Valentine's Day no less. So let's talk about it. Before I talk about what's said in the video, before I talk about the visuals, before any of that, the title, Wiege. This is the German word for cradle. Well, what does that mean in the context of this video? As we'll later see in the video, it can pertain to a few different things. It can be referring to the Anakt Garden as a cradle for the performers of Alienstage. It could be referring to Luca's almost childlike nature despite the seriousness of the situation that he is in. Or maybe it's the fact that the lyrics of this song are in the form of a lullaby, as if singing to a child in a cradle. It has a few different possible meanings, and feel free to let me know what you think they could be below. But let's get into the actual analysis. As soon as the video begins, we are met with a direct continuation to what we see in the previous video in Alienstage's catalogue, Final Round. Don't worry, I'll go back and cover that in the next video. We see the scene directly after Till's death in the titular Final Round. In Wiege, we are immediately met by Luca's gaze as he slowly realises that Hyuna is in front of him, his smile widening and blushing with joy, yet Hyuna's face doesn't reciprocate. She covers her face, raises her hood, and looks away. If you listen as well, you may notice that when we see Luca, our ears are met with the crowds applauding his victory, but when we see Hyuna, we are met with silence. As a soft piano comes in and Luca attempts to approach Hyuna, a gun meets his temple. Though as if unaware of what is being pointed towards his skull, Luke's childlike smile still remains unwavered, aiming towards Hyuna, until we flash back to Luca's past as the lyrics start. The lyrics themselves are, as previously stated, they feel like a lullaby, and this gently starts with Hyuna's voice coming in with the lyrics. Hush my child, drift into slumber. The image we are greeted with is a confusing one. A young Luca covered in blood and viscera. The camera pulls out to reveal the scene he had created. Clones of himself, which had seemed to be in stasis, having been cut out of their pods and collapsed unmoving on the floor in front of a young Luca. A blade in his left hand, whilst his right is on a switch. More than likely the switch he pulled in an attempt to release his clones. We then see two masked figures approach him as we smash cut back to Anakt Garden. Again, wow, shocker. In your dreams, you'll run and play. In paradise. These lyrics probably referring to the Anakt Garden itself. We see Luca all on his own, sat in solitude as all the other children play. He fidgets and toys with his fingers until he's approached by Hyuna, as Luca joins in with his own vocals. Hush my child, gentle now. Go to sleep. We see another flashback, seeing how Hyuna lost her leg, whilst we also see flashes of Luca performing in an iteration of Alienstage, as well as a flash of her brother, Hyun-woo. And somewhere in that moment, the lonely moon will dream. Then we see a broken Hyuna, hunched over on a couch, empty bottles surrounding her. Then we see her slowly gain a smile, as we see flashes of her with members of the resistance. However, as we see these happy moments, a macabre thing flashes between them. A quick flash of Hyun-woo with blood dripping down his face. Then Hyuna continues in this duet as the visuals change to Mizzy after the events of round 5. Her spirit is broken at this point after losing the person she was closest to. A silent, icy gaze falls upon us. We are then met by a seemingly injured Luca as his voice comes back in and the two harmonise, like a fragile reed trembling in fear. We see him staring at a wanted poster for Hyuna, meaning that this must be after Hyuna and Luca participated in Alienstage previously. The camera pulls back and reveals that whilst Luca is highly monitored, as he always has been, he has also, like most Alienstage members, found an unrequited love for another. We've never seen that before. We see wanted posters strewn across his room, as he then proceeds to kiss the one above his bed. The gentle wind sways and dances. Now, this section of the visuals is a bit more fascinating to me. It shows us the participants of Alienstage preparing their outfits for their performances. However, with the calming voices in the back and the warm visuals and the warm colours, it conveys that the preparation for this event was a much more joyful thing when compared to the rest of the tournament, creating an intriguing juxtaposition. I mean, just look at how Mizzy and Sua look preparing their dresses, and how focused Till is spray painting his clothes. It's portrayed in this very wholesome and warm way, which is contradicted by the fact that we know what will happen to the people who participate in Alienstage. And look, we got Freddy in the back, the goat. No, my boy. We then get a brief shot of Ivan chilling in the mess hall, not much to say about that, but we then go to Hyuna and Luca alone on a hill together, as breath sinks deep with quiet longing. Hyuna crying with her back to Luca. As they are on this hill, they are surrounded by red flowers until we cut to a child's drawing of Hyuna, Luca and Hyun-woo playing happily in front of a tree where we saw Luca initially. Also more figures resembling Luca on the left, meaning that perhaps Luca wanted to free his clones and live happily with them, who knows. Then we see a warm shot of Hyun-woo and Hyuna smiling and laughing, and without a word, you'll embrace the sea that sings. We then cut to reality as a starving family eats and huddles together for warmth, then two children writing messages and playing with some glass. These discounted children, similar to Till when we see him in his own flashbacks. Then we see the main four learning to sing and play music together. Mizzy and Sue are smiling and laughing together, Ivan snatching gazes at Till as he remains unaware and playing a xylophone. The two smile as well. Then our eyes are met with another montage. As the lyrics leave us, the song's tone shifts and feels genuinely uplifting. Mizzy sees Sue's death as she looks towards the ground in despair. Hyuna is running away, smiling. Hyun-woo and Luca are playing whilst Luca has a beetle on his head, though he looks unamused by it and is maybe a precursor to Hyun-woo's death. Now, what we see next is a world that could have been a world without the alien overlords and masters, green trees, the real outdoors. We see Sue in school, Mizzy posing for Till, who's pursuing art, Ivan with a love note, probably for Till. I can't read Korean, so someone please feel free to tell me what it says below. We see Hyun-woo riding his bike, but most pertinent of all the things we see in this montage is a happily married Luca and Hyuna, the world that could have been. We then see a flower from that same hill Hyuna and Luca are on. The flower adorns Till's hair as he sings. We see Mizzy and Sue as Mizzy cries of this robotic fish, a shot reminiscent of the first Alienstage round during the intro. We see Ivan watch Till as he draws a landscape that the two will never truly be able to see. We see Hyuna, Hyun-woo and Luca chatting together, followed by Mizzy's point of view of Sue's final moment on stage. A moment of beauty and peace. Then we see the monster that put the fear of death into Till and Mizzy during their accidental escape attempt. They're now being played with by the main four, but the tone slowly shifts back to reality. Hyun-woo is seen with a saddened expression on his face, Sean punching down towards Luca, starting the fight between the two that will conclude with the end of Hyun-woo's life. Some wholesome images of Hyuna with the resistance again smiling away. Then we are met with Luca seeing what is more than likely the clones that were used for spare parts to help him recover. But after that collection of montages, we return to the present. Mizzy mourning the loss of another one of her companions. A vision of Sue appears in a white light as Mizzy cries out. Then the lyrics come back. Wings drenched in longing unfold at last, like a fragile sprout. Hyuna is directing and leading members of the rebellion as Luca remains infatuated just by her presence alone. His fingers remain a dark purple as we see a brief glimpse of him in a similar situation in the past. Luca now with Till's corpse behind him in the present and with Hyun-woo's corpse behind him in the past. Yet in both cases he runs towards Hyuna with a smile, too small to hold, scattered sorrow. As Luca runs towards Hyuna in the present, the man that was holding a gun towards Luca's head prepares to fire. So Hyuna quickly shifts Luca out of the way and takes the bullet meant for him. We then cut back to the past. More of Hyuna's life in the rebellion, reacting to the deaths of one of its members, sways and dances as dawn rises. She remains stoic during the man's death. Then, as we cut to her after her escape from the Alienstage, we see her at her most broken, literally after losing her leg, unshaken and sure, and without a word. Then we get to see how Hyuna actually reacted to her brother's death when Luca was resting against her back, blushing, blissfully unaware, her eyes were flooded with tears. Then we cut back again to the two's first encounter, with Luca alone at the tree and Hyuna harmlessly mimicking how Luca toyed with his own fingers. And as the two embrace as children, we cut back to the present to see the two's final embrace. You'll embrace the sea that sings. Tears well up in Luca's eyes whilst blood is spattered on his face. The lyrics leave us again, but we are finally given a bit of voice acting as the music is lowered, and Hyuna utters her final words. I resented you so. I had to keep moving forward in every moment. But you were always my one and only weakness. That's why I resented you so. Luca, live with love. Embrace the pain, the frailty, and the moments so unbearably shameful. Forgive yourself. Again and again endlessly, because everything begins from here. And with these words, though Hyuna may not forgive Luca for the death of her brother, she departs by giving her final message a strong meaning for Luca. He should live with love, he should forgive himself, and he was Hyuna's one weakness. As the video comes to a close, we are greeted with one last thing. Mizzy in absolute despair. Literally every main character besides her is dead. She is all that's left besides Luca. But I doubt she's exactly a fan of his given his actions in round 5. So, Conclusion time. This video was quite an interesting one from Vivinos, despite how macabre and depressing the world of Alienstage is presented to the audience to be. It showed us some of the nicer moments, in quotation marks, that some of the characters had, as well as the potential lives and loves that they could have had if they were given the chance. Overall, the visuals were stunning, and the music was peaceful and uplifting when it needed to be. The lyrics, I feel, were focused around the theme of growth and moving on, talking about how characters started quivering with fear like reeds in the wind, and like a fragile bud, but they need to bloom as dawn rises unshaking. I very much enjoyed this one, and I think it's one hell of a video to start this new channel off with. But I want to say a couple things really quick though before I end the video. Thank you to whoever is running the wiki page for Alienstage. Whenever I make one of these videos now, I go back and forth to fact check myself a bit by scrolling through stuff, just to brush off the rust, so to speak. So if you're one of the people that keeps this thing up to date, thank you. You're a lifesaver. I will be covering the other Alienstage videos I missed on my main channel, as well as remake a lot of my old Vivinos videos on this channel, as some of them had errors in and they're not edited very well, so I'm going to step that up a bit. But yeah, that's it for this video on Alienstage's latest round. Viege, yeah, again, think that's how you pronounce that. Don't speak German. But toodles my doodles. Hopefully see you in the next one. Peace.